In addition, Linda had filed a complaint against Michelle Mullica. As a result, a meeting was scheduled on January 14, 2014 with Linda, Michelle, the union business agent, the HR manager, the day sort manager, and me. The meeting was set up to put an end to the constant harassing that Linda and Michelle have had against each other. Linda and Michelle read their complaints against each other during this meeting. At that time, the company offered a unique solution to this problem. Both employees needed to work at different sorts. They would not be working with one another. Staying on the day sort was not an option. This would allow both employees to remain employed with final warnings for violations of the workplace violence anti-harassment policy. Because a mutual agreement could not be reached, Linda and Michelle were both terminated for continued violations of the policy.
We tried to get a workable solution, but it was evident that particular day on the 14th that these two ladies could not get along, and if they continue to work in the same environment, the same issues would happen. There'd be more complaints against themselves to one another, and UPS is just not going to tolerate it anymore.
That's all I got. So what you're saying then, you didn't fire them for what they wrote in the statements, you fired them for what they did in the meeting?
Well, I mean, their statements led up to their behavior in the meeting.
Okay. You need to just answer my question, because something happened on the 5th,
Mm-hmm.
and they gave UPS management details of what happened that night, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Then they write statements.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming that somebody from UPS got the statements on the 8th. So you're told on the 5th, they give you statements on the 8th. So you're saying until they go in the meeting and start bickering, tears, lawsuits, and an opportunity to move, did you determine to fire them?
Yes.
The reasons for your termination, is it the cumulative actions caused this, not just one particular incident, correct? Why you terminated them on the 14th?
Yes, sir, and what took place during the 14th.
And what went on during that meeting?
As we were asking them questions, they both got a chance to read each other's write-ups about each other. And then as we talked to each of them, they're both in the room at the same time. As the one started, if Linda started to talk, Michelle continually interrupted her. If Michelle started to talk, Linda would shout across the table. At that point, those two in the room couldn't even come to an agreement about what took place. They both called each other liars. And it was obvious at that point, Mr. Chairman, that as structured as this meeting was going to be, those two just could not get along even in that environment.
Okay.
It's brief in the first paragraph. It explains the reason why the union feels that Linda's been terminated. It says, this is the second time the company's retaliated against Linda for filing a complaint. Linda's not being terminated because of a second time. She's being terminated because of the events that have led up to January 14th, and watching the behavior between her and Michelle Mullica on January 14th, where both of them were not professional. They would not let the other one talk without interjecting their own ideas to cut the other one off. It was obvious when we sat there that neither of them could get along, especially in this meeting versus in the workplace.
I'd also like to add in that when they said she was fired twice, Linda was never fired twice. She was taken out of service on the first incident. Pending further investigation, upon completion of the investigation, she was reinstated with back pay. She was never fired, so the grievance they presented really has no bearing.
And that's in reference to you.
At that point in time, to stay in compliance with the law, we had no option but to follow the policy and terminate your employment. So we could not find a solution to that. So that is the reason behind that chain of events. I have two people that, in their own perception, I believe the other one's creating a hostile work environment against them. We try to resolve it. We try to be able to put the two on different swords because of the petty nature of how they work together. That was unable to be reached, and that was the reason for us moving forward on the termination.
Michelle has gone out of her way and has proven that she will do whatever is necessary to keep her job at UPS, including switching shifts, so she no longer has to work with Linda. Now Michelle sits before you terminated for moving her car on January 5th or for filing a complaint about a hostile work environment as required by company policy. We are not sure which one, but in any case, nothing Michelle has done justifies any discipline by the company.
At that point in time, to stay in compliance with the law, we had no option but to follow the policy and terminate your employment. So we could not find a solution to that. So that is the reason behind that chain of events. I have two people that, in their own perception, I believe the other one's creating a hostile work environment against them. We try to resolve it. We try to be able to put the two on different swords because of the petty nature of how they work together. That was unable to be reached, and that was the reason for us moving forward on the termination.
Well, it is basically a he said, she said. I've been told this over and over again. He said, she said. So